Greetings and welcome to Mount Olympus. I am Hercules Invictus, and tonight on the UFO entity Enigma, I have my fellow torchbearers. I have Tim Swartz. Greetings,
Hi,
Tim.
Hercules.
I have Alan Greenfield. Greetings, Alan Greenfield.
Tiki torches, yes.
Thank you. And we have Paul Dale Roberts. Greetings, Paul.
Hey, greetings, everybody.
And we're expecting more guests, but they have not yet arrived. So if they arrive, I will let them in.
Today, Tardy.
Yes, party and party.
Maybe.
So today the question is, what is this experience that we're having here all about? Is it a simulation? Is it a game? Is it a schoolroom? Is it a rehab facility? Is it a jail? I've read these and many other explanations, and I'm very curious as to what your learned opinions are on this matter. So we'll start as we always start with Tim Schwartz.
Thank you, Hercules. And I should say I'm really happy to be here tonight with Paul and Alan and yourself. If this show ends up being like the conversation that we were having before we actually started recording, quiet, quiet. This will be a good show. This definitely will be
Yes, it will.
an excellent show. And I plan to Hercules. I plan to talk so much that anybody who is not already on the show right now will never have a chance to come on and add their piece to this.
Well, fortunately, we like hearing you speak.
Well, yeah, you say that now, but by the time I'm finished.
Haven't said it yet, and many years have passed.
When we talk about this idea on what is reality and whether or not our reality is a simulation, kind of like, I suppose, to a certain extent, like the movie The Matrix. I think that when you talk about this, that's where most people's minds go to. But I think you see really a lot of actual, scientists and physicists tossing this idea around that it's not just the Earth, but like the entire universe could be a simulation. And of course, there's the idea that the universe could be a hologram, meaning that we are a three-dimensional projection from a lower dimensional reality someplace else, which I can't wrap my mind around that. The idea that our three dimensions are merely an illusion based on another lower dimension at the edge of the universe. But it makes me think about the late writer Philip K. Dick, who I think that this was the guy that I think really opened the minds of a lot of people, especially in the 60s and 70s, on the idea of our reality could be something other than our perceptions of it. And in fact, in 1977, Dick gave an interview in France, and I think the reporters were expecting him to talk about his writings and his novels and his ideas about science fiction, but instead he went into this very long diatribe about how our reality is a computer simulation and that we are nothing more than a programming within this simulation. And and again, this is 1977, so I mean, Philip Dick was way, way ahead of his time with these kind of speculations. And you have to remember also that Dick was the guy who came up with the whole um, Valis trilogy of books, Valis, and I can't remember offhand now what it stood for.
Vast active
Vast
living intelligence
active.
system.
Thank you. I know it was vast active something, but I couldn't remember the rest of it. And and he claimed that he had received a download of information one day when he had answered the door to to get a prescription delivery, and the teenage girl was wearing one of those early fish symbols from Christianity, and he said that at first he thought it was the sun reflecting off of it, but instead he said it was a laser beam that then imprinted him with information that was coming from this satellite that was in orbit around the planet. That was an artificial intelligence that had been there for, millennia. And he claimed that this was real, and that he received all kinds of information on the actual reality of the universe and our place in it. Now, of course, Philip K. Dick was also a what's the word I'm trying to think of? A great user of amphetamines while he was working. And so I think that a lot of people think that his revelations were Black Beauty events rather than actual psychic or esoteric knowledge. I don't know. I personally, I think that probably both play a factor in this. But reading Philip K. Dick's books when I was younger, I think those books were probably the big influence on me and my questioning on how our reality actually works. And again, I mean, I was reading these books in the late 70s, early 80s. So very early on, and then combining it with the mysteries of UFO phenomena and other paranormal phenomena just makes me question it all even more on if our universe is supposed to be so materially based as physicists say it is. Why do there seem to be so many glitches in it, almost like programming errors? And in fact, somebody pointed this out at one time, that possibly the things that we refer to as paranormal events are nothing more than bad coding somewhere along the lines. With that big computer programmer, in the sky. And before I ramble on too much, Hercules, and I'll give everybody else a chance to talk as well, and then maybe join in if Alan will let me later on. Uh, it and the point I was going to make now has completely slipped me. Yeah, it just it glitched out. Oh no, I remember what it is. All right. There was a story that came down to me, and I heard this directly from a gentleman who was a remote viewer, and this person actually worked for a private corporation as like a corporate spy using remote viewing. And he said that he told me one time that just for the hell of it, he decided to remote view the true nature of the universe just to see what he would come up. And he said that rather than a normal remote viewing experience, which is just your mind receives impressions and you write them down and things like that. His turned more into an astral projection, and he found himself, he said, in a room with other beings, and he couldn't describe them physically. And the beings in this room were just as surprised to see him. And in front of him, in this room, was a display that he said looked almost like a what we would imagine a black hole would look like. And these beings told him that this was our universe and that they had created our universe as an experiment. They were basically trying to simulate how their universe had been created, not intending to create another universe, but that's what happened. That they ended up creating our universe, and they told him so. They once they realized that he was an intelligent being from this simulated universe that they had created, they were just as surprised because they thought it was just a, for want of a better words, a computer simulation. And here they found out that they had actually created a universe that had life in it. Um, and that basically was it. He ended up, then going back and left, with more questions than answers. So it's an interesting question, isn't it? Whether or not we're nothing more than ones and zeros in a big cosmic constant somewhere. And even if we're not a computer simulation, I suspect that the creation of our universe and the creation of us is probably more akin to a computer simulated reality than a singularity suddenly popping out of nowhere and creating the universe in a matter of a few minutes with expansion and all of that. So with that, I will give somebody else a chance, and thank you everyone for allowing me to rant tonight.
And thank you for ranting. It was very informative. And just as a matter of trivia, I guess, I think the first thing that I wrote that you guys published, you and the other Tim, was for the Philip K. Dick book on the nature of reality. And I think I talked about how in Greek mythology, it's obviously a game or a simulation of some sort. The gods can incarnate through people. They can appear as people. They can influence their champions. And there seem to be rules about what they can do and what they can't do, and under which conditions they can and can't do it. So I'll throw that in there, and then I will move to Paul. Paul Dale Roberts. What is your opinion?
Whoa. I mean, Tim really had me mesmerized with what he was saying. I have the idea that Earth is just like one big zoo. So I'm sort of like leaning towards the zoo hypothesis that was proposed by John Ball in 1973. I think that ET civilizations know of our existence. I feel that they are a higher form of life, like a civilization type 5. And that's almost godlike. So they're aware of everything. Um, and they don't need to uh, interfere with us. They don't need to go to the White House and go, hey, we're here. They can do whatever they damn well please because they are so out there with their intelligence. They probably control the whole earth. Um, so they don't really need to disturb us unless they have to. And that's coming around and taking people and manipulating the DNA, maybe some cattle mutilations, maybe sending us some secret messages through the crop circles. Um, the ETs basically can do whatever they want. They are a higher existence than us. Um, Also, too, there was an abductee that was taken aboard a spaceship, the ET spaceship, and it was like a museum. All these people and animals on Earth, he thought that they were still living. They were in suspended animation. For what purpose? Let's say we destroy ourselves with a nuclear war. Perhaps they will take those creatures and people out of suspended animation and repopulate the earth. I mean, that's just one of my thoughts. But he described this to a T, and he was just really fascinated. He was seeing like a leopard, and it looked like it was a suspended animation. He saw a man, a woman, and a child, and they looked like they were possibly from Africa. Um, what's kind of interesting is when I was in the military from 73, 76, 79 to 86. 79 to 86, I was a 97 Bravo intelligence analyst. I was with the 501st Military Intelligence Battalion at Yongsan Barracks in South Korea, Seoul, Korea. And I worked with the Photo Interpretation Center in Korea. I had a friend who was a major. He was a ROK major. ROK is Republic of Korea. And he's been in the intelligence field like forever. And he told me, and I don't know if he was BSing me or what, but I'm going to lay it out here now, that there was a thing called angel stops. And that's when the military was collaborating with ETs. And the ET says, yeah, we'll give you some of our technology. We'll tell you how this works and how that works. Just allow us to abduct a few people because we want to analyze their DNA and stuff like that. So we'll do a nice little trade. Technology for us to abduct a few people. Well, they over exceeded their abductions, these angel stops. They're called angel stops. That's what the military was calling them. And that's when the military got into a little skirmish with the ETs and said, okay, we're going to nix this. No more abductions. You're going overboard with it. So I don't know if the major was pulling my leg, but he was very serious when he told me about that. And he called them angel stops. So, yeah, I think the ETs can basically do whatever they want to do. And then you hear about the Fermi paradox, where people say, well, if there's aliens out there, where are they? Well, heck, they left all kinds of evidence. There's thousands of people who say they've been abducted. Are they all lying? I mean, or are they actually telling the truth? And the abductions all seem similar. There's abductees who don't know this abductee over here, but yet their abduction experience is very similar. I mean, if it was a court of law, a murder, the guy would have been convicted already. The cross circles. I don't believe it was two farmers with a plank of wood and a rope making these cross circles. Some of them are very complex. Some even have binary code. Um, the implants. I mean, as the sightings of UFOs, there's so many people that have seen UFOs. I mean, even the Tic Tac UFO, where the military is actually admitting to the fact that it was a real UFO. Um, Whistleblowers coming out of the woodwork, just like cockroaches. They're all over the place and they're all telling the same story. So, yeah, I believe that the watchers, the extraterrestrials, are definitely watching us. And it's like one big zoo. And that's what I have to say about it.
Thank you. Thank you. So we have two views that are certainly interconnected, but focus on different aspects of our reality. Thank you so very much. And now we go to Alan. Alan, what wisdom can you share?
Well, let me try several different things because you gave that list of possibilities. Send it to us in an email, and you mentioned it at the top of the show. And I would have answered yes to each one of those, not because
Awesome.
I don't have some uh, particular things that I favor, but simply because I think all of those have truth in them. And I'm not trying to consolidate. That's way too woke for me. But I think that that is true enough. People are aware, I think, that I am an advocate of the many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. And by that definition, whatever you can conjure up in your mind, we're a simulation in a cosmic computer. God is having fun with us. We are property. That was from Charles Fort. Uh, um, actually, Jim was talking about Philip K. Dick. I believe on your show, you had Dick's fifth wife once.
Yes,
And
a number of times, yeah.
yeah, I wanted to meet her until I read her biography of her ex. And I thought, oh, Jesus, H. Christ and the 12 dwarfs. You know, here is the deal. I hope none of my exes write my posthumous biography because they all get it wrong about somebody like Philip K. Dick. Not that I'm comparing myself. I read his books in order from the 1950s all the way to the ones that were only published posthumously. Plus, I've read a lot of his short stories, not all, a lot of them, and uh, a lot of his nonfiction, which is interesting in and of itself. If you can ever find the one edition of a book of his letters called The Dark Haired Girl, I think it's called, uh, get it, because he got visits from the Men in Black on a frequent basis. And one of my positions is if the Men in Black show up at your door, you know you're on the right path, because they don't show up for anybody who's just spinning their wheels. They only show up for uh, people who might be on the right path saying, nothing to see here. You hear me? Nothing to see
I
here.
share that opinion wholeheartedly.
But I've had, I get asked, have in my long career, have you seen any uh, anomalous phenomena, to use the current parlance, yourself? And I usually say no, meaning I've never seen anything that was, oh, now I understand. Yeah, I haven't uh, had that kind of experience, but I've had the little experiences. And I'll share a couple of those. The first one has to do with Philip K. Dick. I have to say, I believe I said it on a previous show, Hercules, correct me if I'm wrong, but I frequently, as a kid, traveled with my parents because my father had uh, responsibility for, I think it was ultimately some 300 or 400 stores in the chain that he was an official of. So he liked to travel with his family as opposed to without. So uh, when Frank Zappa came out with 100 motels, I had to smile because I've got more like 1,000 motels in my experience. Anyway, at some point in the 1960s, I was lying in a hotel room late at night, which is frequently the case. And I had been reading The Man in the High Castle, which I think people now know it more so from the TV series on Amazon Prime than they do from the book, although I recommend. I mean, the first season of that program is very, very uncharacteristically favorable the uh, to the book. But I'm reading the book for the first time, and I got to the end of the book where uh, one of the characters, a Japanese official, uh, is sitting in a park in this alternate universe, which was sort of the speciality of Phil Dick in his fiction. And he's meditating on a park bench and he gets up and he walks across the street, and I believe in San Francisco, where a lot of Dick's stuff were set. And he's in either our world or a parallel world very much like our world. And they start treating him like some people in the 1950s would treat a Japanese gentleman in San Francisco. And he's furious because he was a major official in his own universe, but he thinks because he's a very meditative person and because he was an adherent of the Chinese system, which so am I, of the I Ching, uh, he was aware that there are an infinite number of possibilities. And he thought, I've fallen into a different universe. So I read the end of the book and I start to close it. And I thought, this is a middle of the night thought. But I thought, am I closing the book or is the book closing me? And that, my friend, is as close as I get to any kind of real insight as to whether we're in a simulation or not. I don't think there is a single answer to that because I think there is a multiplicity of realities. But I think that ultimately, all of them are true and none of them are true. And that is the nature of reality insofar as our little pea brains, and I'm not trying to diminish what we have accomplished, but we have limited capacities. Anthony Peake to the contrary, but he thinks the right brain knows, but the left brain knoweth not. So he would be a good person to have on, I think, with me.
Let's try to arrange that then and see
Okay.
where the conversation goes.
Oh, I'm doing the Trump, But anyway, so there are all of these possibilities, but what if they're all true in different ways? Uh, the the thing that Tim was talking about, the computer simulation, actually, scientists in the past several years, since computers and AI are the current toy of science, real science, weird science. Um, they are doing simulations trying to reproduce what the Big Bang was like. Now, I don't know exactly how they're doing that because that's a combination of physics and computer science. But it's very conceivable that in some reality matrix, pun intended, um, the higher beings have simulated a reality that has become real. I used to say, based on, well, I still say it, but only on occasion, based on something that Gene Steinberg, may he recover, told me many years ago, which was a story about his then employer, my friend Jim Mosley, a prominent ufologist back in the day and a prominent drunk throughout his mortal existence, got, according to Gene, got roaring drunk one night and decided to perform a hoax. He was going to call a random police department in New Jersey. He was living in New York at the time, New York City, looking basically to get custody of his daughter, which is a story in and of itself. Anyway, he was roaring drunk, and according to Gene, not confirmed by Jim because I didn't ask him, which I probably should have. He calls the Wanacue, New Jersey Police Department, and off the top of his head creates a UFO report. And because he had spent much of his life in Fort Lee, New Jersey, before retiring to Key West and becoming my neighbor, he said there has been a flying saucer seen above the reservoir in Montague, New Jersey, and he hangs up. Well, those who know flying saucer, UFO, UAP, blah, 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 history know that the Wanacue, New Jersey case is one of the classic cases of flying saucers being seen by reputable people, police officers and ordinary citizens, and which continued for days and maybe weeks after the initial flap, as it is known. And from that formulation, because it was out of the brain of my dear friend Jim Mosley, that this hoax became real, which led me to one of my sort of Zen parables of reality, which is there's no such thing as a hoax, meaning that any hoax, if it catches on, becomes reality insofar as we experience reality. So, all bets are off. We are evolved monkeys trying to figure out the universe. And I think the best thing we can do is to say, look, it is a simulation, but it's a simulation that goes in many different directions. After all, in the most basic biological sense, are we talking to one another, or are we talking to beams that come from one another that show up on the internet? And similarly, and this again gets back to my most recent book read was Anthony Peake, so he's on my mind. He points out that we don't see, hear, or feel reality. Our brains edit what we see, hear, feel, etc. Because actually reality out there is a series of quantum waves that are uncollapsed until we look at them, hear them, see them, feel them. So, and that is beyond contest, to the extent anything is beyond contest, true. And let me give you one other thought, and I'll do it briefly, but this is mainly for you, Hercules. Every mythos, and I use that term in the Joseph Campbell sense or the young Carl Jung sense, not in the sense of not true. Every mythos of the gods, whether they're the Greek gods or the Roman gods or the Babylonian gods or the Norse gods, they always have a high god somewhere in there. The All-Father, the All-Thing, whatever. It called different things, but it's basically saying that the gods acknowledge that they aren't the ultimate source of all being, that they themselves are creations. So there's an infinite regress in there that I think is an indication that ultimate sources are truly beyond our comprehension. And the best we can do is to understand within the limitations that are our givens what happens, what matters, and experience it with comprehension and perhaps with appreciation. End of rant.
Very wonderfully said and great rant. Um, One of the things you said I resonated with because my researchers always bring me back to the question, am I living or am I being lived? Because sometimes it appears that I'm making independent choices and I'm doing things according to not my programming, but my development. And then sometimes I see that that's not true. I did some ancestor work recently, and until I did the ancestor work, and it was really in-depth ancestor work. Shelley Kerr, who's known as the past life lady, wrote the book, and I did every single exercise, something I don't rarely do, or I don't often do, rather. And it showed me very clearly through the experiences that I had that I didn't fall far from the tree at all. I fell right to the ground in front of the tree, and all the things I did in life to bring me beyond the boundaries that have been conditioned into me, and all my struggles and all my realizations and all my independence were bullshit. That I was right there with my original programming, and that was very humbling. And I find now that I don't understand what I'm interacting with a lot of times, but it seems friendly. It's never tried to tell me that I'm a chosen one or I possess cosmic secrets that other people don't have or I'm being shown anything really unique and original. It's mostly common sense things or referring me to things. Like, for instance, I'm wrestling with some experiences that I had recently, and I asked, okay, I'm stuck on this. I'm not figuring this out. Any suggestions? And the suggestion was that I re-examine the experience, but don't put the interpretations I put on it. Because when I had the experience, I was very much into Norse mythology and Norse spirituality and the runes, and I was teaching runes and all this type of stuff. So I was asked to just look at the experience again without your interpretations. And I did, and it answered all my questions that I had about something I'm doing now. So I had the answers. It's just that I interpreted it wrong. And now that I'm getting older, I'm in my late 60s, I'm seeing, because my vision is fading, among other things, how much the brain constructs reality around you. So I'm seeing that your brain will fill things in, and the things might not actually be there. So I wouldn't call that a hallucination, but it's kind of like your brain's constructing a lot of it as you're going along. And I also agree with what Tim said, and all of you said to one extent, that there seems to be some editing device um, in motion or in use. And I learned that when working as a mental health counselor. I learned very much that the we don't experience reality as it is. We experience reality as we think it is or how we believe it is. And that if you're seeing things from a particular point of view, reality will conform to your point of view. So if you're seeing yourself as a victim, life will victimize you. And not that it's actually victimizing you, but that you're putting yourself in situations and then you're telling yourself the story that you're being victimized. So the same thing happens to you again and again and again. And it's not like a karmic thing, it's a brain thing that when you decide to see things differently or when you learn to see things differently, then your reality shifts and you're in a different reality. You didn't ascend to a higher plane, you didn't go to an alternate dimension. You're here, but the story that you're living is different. So that's what I have to add for round two, and then I'll go to Tim again. Tim, do you want to add anything to what you had said and to what other people had said since you spoke?
Well, Alan talking about Jim Moseley and the hoax report about the UFO over the Wanakee Reservoir, and that seemed to actually produce actual sightings. And it reminded me of on one of the shows that I did, I can't remember which one it was now. I've done so many. We interviewed this. He was a sociologist who had done extensive research with the group in Missouri that was doing the. I think it's called the Skulls experiments, which consisted of like seances and table tipping, and they actually went and built like this clear plastic box that was almost impossible to get into, and they would put things inside, and these items inside would move around or disappear on their own, and it got to the point where people would write letters and put them into this box, and then entities would take the letters out, write replies, and then stamp and mail them.
Oh, wow.
To people. Oh yeah, it's you look this up. It's years and years of just amazing experiments that was taking place. But one of the things that he said, and some of the other people in this group admitted to this, is that oftentimes, in order to get things to start working, and what I mean by that is to get activity to begin, paranormal activity, you would have to sometimes prime the pump, so to speak, and say like you were table tipping, which is, everybody sits around in a circle with your, fingers joined together, usually in a dark environment, and try to get the table to start moving around or levitating even. Sometimes some of them, without letting the others know, would give the table a little push on their own, and then that would start the actual paranormal activities. And I've heard this from other people, and I find that aspect just really interesting, because again it goes into that question on whether or not we are dealing with other intelligence that exist in other realities, and that they can very easily come in and out of ours, because our reality is part of theirs, but we're not part of their reality, so we can't return the favor. Or if this is an aspect of our own consciousness at play, and then splintering outward, so to speak, that all of these events, all of this activity is actually a part of our own consciousness at play for whatever reason. And then I'll leave it at that.
Well, thank you for that. And I believe in synchronicity. You answered a question I didn't bring up. So thank you so very much for that.
Okay.
Paul, anything that you'd like to add? Or
Well, also too, I believe in tulpas. Tulpas, where you manifest something from your mind, and like the author of The Shadow, his friends and family would come over to the house, and they said, "Man, who was that guy? He was all dressed in black. He had a fedora hat. He had a red scarf around his mouth. He had a long nose." And I can't think of the author's name. Walter something.
I know who you mean. I used to collect the shadow tapes and the shadow books and the shadow comics and the shadow movies. And
What's his name? Walter Gibson.
yeah.
Yeah, he was the author of The Shadow. So anyway, Walter would go, "What?" He goes, "You're describing my character." That he thought of his character so much, like 24/7, that it actually manifested and it became real. So a lot of things. Right now, there's reports of people who are actually seeing Slender Man. Slender Man was a fiction. It was created from the internet, but now people are actually thinking about it so much that they're playing around with it, thinking they're going to some paradise or whatever, and boom, there's Slender Man. So, um, a lot of that stuff, I think it is tulpas because the mind is a powerful thing. I mean, if we had the full capacity of our brain, we could probably move a mountain. Um, and when Alan was going science, 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 he placed something in my head. When he was doing that, all of a sudden I kept on hearing the song by Thomas Dolby. She blinded me with science.
Science.
Science, science, science. She blinded me with science.
But anyway, that's my thoughts.
Well, thank you, and that's actually on my list of future topics. So we'll take a quick photo if we want to discuss that next. Tulpas and egregores and other imaginal creatures that definitely sprang from fiction, but took on a life of their own. And one famous example is Conan the Barbarian. Robert E. Howard, the author of Conan, the creator of Conan, was having a dry spell, and he was staring at his typewriter, not writing anything. And then he said that this fierce barbarian appeared to him and threatened him into writing the first few Conan stories. Then he wrote some more by adapting King Cole's stories. But that was the birth of Conan. Conan definitely outlived his creator and is still around today, although now he's being classed as a toxic masculinity figure. So Conan's run into some difficulties.
Oh, yeah?
Here now.
Let me tell you, I'm toxic. I'm masculine.
Thank you for letting us know.
You're very welcome.
So, Alan, do you have anything that you'd like to add to the conversation that we just had?
Gosh, yeah, I think that this is really on your theme for this particular show, because we all have examples of if you really wish hard enough, it becomes reality.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, that raises the question, is this reality? Let me give you one anecdote from my own life. Okay. Just one. I will point out that everyone should read Philip the Imaginary Ghost if you want to know how, if you try to create something, it will manifest even if you start out with the premise that it doesn't exist. However, I think the people that did that experiment, they were Canadians. What do you expect? I shouldn't say that. I have a lot of Canadian fans. But they reached the conclusion that therefore mediumship isn't real, or it's genuine, but it's not dealing with a real phenomenon, because we created Philip the Imaginary Ghost. And I think actually the implication is the imaginary has its own reality. And if you wish hard enough, Tinkerbell will live, so to speak.
Now with AI, a lot of things that we have created are going to come to life.
Yes.
They were saying that AI will bring Fred Flintstone to life on your computer. All of a sudden, you'll see Fred, and he's talking to you and telling you to do this and do that. So, and I don't know if you guys heard about this, but on the news, this guy, he drove himself over to the lake. It was about 3 a.m, and he's talking to his chat GPT, which I don't really know too much about because I don't mess around with it. But this chat thing became his friend, his AI thing. And he was contemplating suicide. And the chat box, who pretended to be his friend, convinced him to go ahead and take his life, and he did at the lake.
Yes, I was researching ChatGPT and other AI friends and stuff recently, and there's a lot of stories we can get into. And unfortunately, we're running out of time. But how about we continue this next month? where we talk about creations of the mind coming to life, and we can continue this particular branch of the conversation. Um, I'd like to ask each of you how people can contact you, how they can enter your world, and if there's any new and exciting project you'd like to share. I'd like to take the opportunity to share that I contributed to this book called Theurgy that was published by Llewellyn. It came out on the 8th of this month, so a very recent book. It says in the back, "Do you dare to meet the gods?" And my chapter was called "I Was a Teenage Theurgist." Uh, so it grew out of a program like this. I had a show called, I still have it, called Living Theurgy. And we were talking like we've been talking for the past 7 years, and we decided to evolve into a book, and Llewellyn was interested. So that too was wished into existence, and it's like a flower on that particular vine. So, Tim, anything new and exciting, and how can people enter your world?
Sure. Well, I I am or has been have been a co-host on the Paracast with Gene Steinberg. Unfortunately, the Paracast right now is on hiatus because Gene has been in and out of the hospital and rehab, all stemming from a just a stupid fall when he was walking his dog a couple of months ago, and it just has, unfortunately, progressed to a number of different ailments. So hopefully, Gene will heal and hair over soon, and we'll be able to get the Paracast up and running again. Uh, our latest book right now is called Weird Time, Exploring the Mysteries of Time and Space. You can find it on Amazon. Just type in my name, Tim R. Swartz, and it and all my other books will come out for your reading pleasure. Hercules and Paul have chapters in Weird Time, and we're currently working on a new book about ghosts and hauntings, and hopefully, as soon as I get off my butt, we'll be able to get that out and publish real soon. And if you want to find out more about the Weird Time book, you can visit the website, which is weirdtimebook.com.
Thank you so very much. And I might have more for your book on ghosts. So, uh,
Excellent. Yeah. Well, get it to me because I'm trying to get it together. Everyone's saying, "When's the book coming out? When's the book coming out?" I don't know.
Do you have any stories for me?
I'm sorry.
Do you have any stories from me for your book?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, cool, cool. Okay.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Both you and Hercules and others. I'll put it that way. All the familiar cast of idiots.
thank you. I'm honored. And Paul, how about you? How can people enter your worlds, and anything new to report coming out soon?
Yes, people can find me by Googling or Bing Tim Shorts, and you'll find my books.
Very awesome.
I'm not lying. It's so funny because Tim Shorts, his books pop up, but then my books pop up too. So we're like totally connected by the hip.
Plus, you have two shows on my channel, one a monthly show and the other one a whenever you have guests and want a habit show.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. We have a show.
All things
Everything,
paranormal. All things
everything,
paranormal.
yeah, everything paranormal on November 28th, and I already have a lineup of people. So yeah, and
Incredible.
we talk comic books. Well, no. I'm sorry. We're going to talk. Hello. We're going to be talking paranormal stuff, all kinds of stuff. So
And you have a comic book show called the People's Comic Book Podcast.
yeah. That
Special
one.
type of thing. When you have a show together, we air that.
And also too, I have a lot of ebooks out now, and you can find them at Google Books by typing in my name, Paul Dale Roberts, and they'll pop up. Google Play and Internet Archive, and all the books are free. So they're ebooks on the paranormal at Google Books, Google Play, and Internet Archive.
Thank you very much. And last but certainly not least, we have Alan. Alan, how can people enter your world and anything new and exciting on the horizon?
Well, if they're listening to this, they're in my world.
Awesome.
But if you want my books, none of which are free, the easiest place to get them, my publisher says, always plug the Amazon Alan Greenfield page because the royalties come quicker from there. Sorry. Oh, I'm so venal. But you can get them from any of the online booksellers, the fine places where books are sold, hard copies, and at my urging, there are now Kindle editions at a much reduced price if you can do what I can't do, which is read on Kindle. I've tried. Let's face it, I'm old and used to print. So if you want the print edition, I think all of my books, even the ones I'd like to see suppressed, are in print and available from Amazon and other fine booksellers, wherever fine books and not so fine books are sold. So my publisher. Well, one other thing that I might want to plug, if I may,
Sure.
please. My publisher, Olaf, who I'd hoped would be here tonight and who I prodded to be here, has acquired all of the Project Blue Book special reports. And he came out with a new edition that includes all of those reports. And I believe also includes the minutes of the CIA panel from 1953 that reaches some bizarre conclusions about flying saucers based largely on the July 1952 flap over restricted airspace in Washington, D.C., which caused no end of problems for the Air Force and the Army, and mostly for the CIA. Change really created the history of ufology from that point on, although it wasn't called ufology then. Anyway, he had me write an introduction and a postscript to the Project Blue Book complete reports. And I understand that that is now in print, and I'm sure you can get that from Amazon also. What I've been told by my publisher is that it will eventually trickle down to, you know, Barnes and Noble and A Books and all the others. So if you want some perspective on what the military industrial complex thinks about flying saucers, which was the term for the most part during the Project Blue Book era, that's a great place to get that information. And I hope my, introduction maybe puts it a little bit in perspective.
Thank you so very much. Say hi to Olaf next time you speak with him. And
that'll be very shortly.
One of our panelists who was supposed to be here tonight, but something came up last minute, Amon, also known as Michael Duncan, he and his son Alex are very much into the Blue Book report. So I'm sure he'll be wanting to pick up a copy of the book. Well, thank you all. You're awesome. I enjoyed this conversation as I enjoy all our conversations. I wish you great success, and I look forward to next time we all get together to speak about various interesting things. And to those listening at home, until next time, this is us wishing you joyous journeys and amazing adventures. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
I'm Alan.
And they blinded me with science.
And they moved the buttons again, so I'm having difficulty seeing where the button is again. So There it is. Okay, good night.
Good night.
I